So for those of you that just missed it, I'm Lissa. I'm going to be hosting the software track today, so I'm going to be here all day with you, and I'm going to be a strict time master. I apologise about that. First up, we have Donovan from Headforwards. Imagine the world through the eyes of a code mobster.
Thanks, Lissa. You just ruined my first slide. And I'm surprised that you all turned up after that rubbish introduction earlier. So, as Lissa said, I'm talking about imagine the world through the eyes of a code mobster. So, in the beginning, a little bit about myself. I've been in IT for 25 years or so, I'd say. I moved to Cornwall, 8 years ago. 3 years ago, I was sort of looking around for jobs. You know how you keep up with technology, and I was looking at all the sort of latest trends, and everything was agile, TDD, stuff like that. And I didn't have that, and it's something I wanted to do, and I didn't know how to do it. I'm a .NET developer, or I was traditionally a .NET developer. A role came up in Headforwards, wanting TDD, agile, .NET. So I had one out of the three. Applied for the job. Stupidly, they hired me, and now I'm here talking about it. So I was part of the first .NET team at Headforwards, and we had a new client, and they wanted to adopt agile practices, TDD, modern software processes. So, what do I mean by that? We wanted TDD, good unit coverage, CI pipelines, all that sort of jazz that you hear about in the industry. And we did that. So our first iteration of this, we did that, we got there. We're rocking it, right? We're doing all those good stuff, and we're feeling really smug, really smug. So because we're being agile now, right? Our clients, I think, liked it. We were introducing agile processes. We were having sprint lengths. We were doing a sprint length for 3 weeks. Our code was fully tested with unit tests. We had co-reviews. We had a CI pipeline, which was fully automated and with a regression pack and scripted deployments. I mean, that's pretty good, right? I would say. We're rocking it at that point. Feeling really smug, like I say, the slide says it all. However, whenever you're smug, you hit the curse of the smug. And what do I mean by that? So, I mentioned we were doing unit tests. But we weren't doing TDD unit tests, we were development-driven testing, which is something I've made up. But what do I mean by that? It's an expression that does actually mean something, and I'll explain what I'm getting at. So we were working as single devs. So there's a team of 4 or 5 of us, I think. We're working as single devs, writing a bit of code over 3 weeks. Get towards the end of the sprint, we would be like, right, I've got to write a test because we want to be test. We want these full regression tests and all that. So we'd end up, right, the code is working, and we'd be testing it, and we'd be writing tests. We'd having to refactor our code because we hadn't written the code with testing in mind. So that's not very good, right? We wanted code reviews. Part of the idea was to have code reviews, which is a good thing. The industry says, yeah, let's all do code reviews and make sure everything's good, right? They were being left to the end of the sprint, often ignored, rushed. We were exercising so we had a full stack application. We were exercising the front end tests using Selenium, like integration tests. These were becoming flaky. Why were they flaking? We had a back end system or a data system that we had no control over. We couldn't spin up, we couldn't stop other people interacting with it in any environment, so our tests became flaky. So we didn't trust those tests. Our sprint length, I mentioned the 3 3 weeks. It was too long, really. It doesn't sound a lot, but it's way too long. You can't focus on what you're trying to do in 3 weeks, or I don't think you can. So, improving. What do we do to improve? Well, we squashed the sprint length down to 1 week. That allowed us to focus on smaller tasks. And part of that is you have to break up your stories well, so that's a challenge, right? So we decreased the size of our stories, and that allowed us to focus better. We introduced pair programming. Now, I didn't want to do this. Who wants to do that? You'd have to go and show your dirty laundry, everyone, and show that you can code or not code. I didn't really want to do that. So we started doing that, but industry, I don't know if anyone in here has read up on that. Pair programming is a good concept, right? And it's a good concept. We started doing that, and that was working well. We started doing proper TDD on our back-end code, so our C# code for the project we were working on. That allowed us to write better software. So if you're practicing TDD, it just lends to making more succinct software, I believe. We decided to, I mentioned our flaky test, we decided to mock out the back end. Still use the integration test to test the front end, but we mocked out the dependency on the back end, so it's just serving static data. Everything's going right. We're pretty smug again now. Pretty smug, we're rocking it again, this is all good. Right? So it worked well for a while. But as I mentioned before, whenever you're smug, you hit the curse of the smug. So what do I mean by that in this instance? We still had flaky tests. Now, I won't bore you with why we had flaky tests, but we did. And we didn't trust our tests then. Actually, I will bore you with it. So our front end, as I mentioned, we were using Selenium, etc., to do integration tests, to test our front end. Our front end code grew, and we weren't unit testing that, so that was becoming like a living sort of entity, but it wasn't very well structured. It wasn't tested. We thought, oh, these integration tests are going to test the front end for us, right? Wrong. We had flaky tests. Then when we were checking in with this great automated pipeline with our regression test, they were failing. We're like, they're failing. That's all right, I know that works. And it hid problems because we didn't trust our tests. What else? We were siloed. So I didn't mention this in the first Curse of the Smug, but working individually, what you found is you become siloed. So pair programming was and what do I mean by siloed? So people become application experts. Everywhere I've worked in a team, if you work on your own, you become the database guy, you become the UI guy, you become the math guy, or I don't know, dealing with the external API or something like that. You become that expert. So the first thing was to try and do pair programming, is to split that up, and that worked really well. However, those two, when you pair, you ended up pairing with someone and you became not stuck with a person, that's the wrong way to say it, but you ended up working with that person over 2 or 3 because you were stuck in that area. You were still siloed. You were still doing, oh, they're doing that bit over there, so we'll keep that pair together, which wasn't really that good, I don't think. So, where we are now. Where are we? So, well, we're in Plymouth, but we had a chance to refactor. I mentioned about the flaky test. We had a chance to refactor our app. And we wanted to get rid of this flaky test, and we knew our front end code, which was JavaScript, had grown and it was a bit of a monster, and we needed to test it. So we ripped it all out, and we knew we had to rip it all, or we decided we were going to rip it all out. We didn't know how to do this. Previously, on Workflow, no, I can't say that. Previously, we'd had an experience of trying to solve a domain problem, and how did we do that? We all went in a room together, the team, there's 6 of us, I think, and worked how to do it. And that worked really well. We came up with a really good solution. So we were like, right, okay, so we've got to refactor this out. We don't know how to do it. We want to introduce JavaScript testing on the front end. We want to refactor all this front end code. How are we going to do it? We don't know how to do it. We all got in a room and started to do mob programming. Now, what do I mean by mob programming? So mob programming is like pair programming. We have a person sitting down driving the programming, and then 2 or 3 other people. I mean, everyone can do it different ways, but this is the way we worked. We'd sort of discuss how we were going to get over the problem at hand. Now, we didn't do this thinking we're going to carry on doing this. We just did this to try and solve this pattern, or to re-engineer our front end and come up with a pattern that we could then use and all split into our pairs game. However, we found it worked so well that we just naturally carried on. And now, I don't really like to work without my teammates, and we all work together well as a mob. Now, our team at Headforwards was the first way to adopt this, and we were, as you do, talking in the kitchen and stuff like that, saying, we're doing more programming, why don't you do it? And it sort of organically spread down the corridor of our thing, and then all the other teams started adopting it. And they all found it to be a good thing. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but it is a really, really good way of working. So that's pretty much it. So we're going to go through, so I'm pretty smug now, I'm still pretty smug, but somebody will probably come and buy us, I'm sure. But we're still pretty smug, and so mob programming has helped us learn to interact well as a team, and then also improved our code and our testing, how we test, how we build our CI pipeline, the whole process. And I think it's all been driven by mob programming. So we've got some cons now. We've got some pros, mob pros. I'm going to bring up 3 people from Headforwards, and we're going to go through 4s of why we think mob programming is good. First one's Jeremy coming up to the stage, and then Barney and James. So I mentioned it organically grew. So I'm going to ask one of you guys. Who am I going to ask first? Barney, because he's smiling. So.
Oh, great. Mine's Barney. Mob programming has really changed the way I work. I mean, one of the things I really like about it is the fact that the code has no longer become your problem or your piece of work. It's now shared between the teams. You don't get the thing anymore with, oh, there's a bug in your code, you need to fix it. The team gets really excited. There's a bug, we've managed to find the bug, this is awesome, how do we fix it? It becomes a shared problem. Not a shared problem, shared interest.
So that's a good thing, right? Because if a bug came up, and I talked about that silo thing, when you were siloed as devs, say Barney had gone on holiday and there was a bug in that area of code that he was working in, you'd open it up and you'd think, God, what the hell is this twat written? I don't understand it, he must be far cleverer than me, but there's a bug in there. But you don't get that anymore because you're all shared. You all share it. And I apologise for calling you a twat, Barney, but I didn't mean it, I was trying to get a laugh. But it takes that siloedness out. So what would traditionally happen in all these sort of teams I worked on? Someone would go away on holiday or something like that. Oh, how do we do that? Oh, should we wait until so-and-so comes back? You don't get that now. The whole team is invested in the whole code. Everyone knows the whole code structure. You don't have to open up that thing and say, well, how have they done this? Or tap someone on the shoulder and say, how does this work? What?
It's that whole thing, isn't it? You go away on holiday saying, oh, guys, can you do this? Get back and the work's still there unfinished because no one's looked at it.
Yeah.
But now you get back and, we've actually made some progress and there's another progress going on. Well, you're doing it, which is good.
And I haven't got, put it on, so when you come back from holiday, you feel like you've missed something. You're like, so how did you do that?
Yeah.
How did you solve that? I wasn't involved. And it's like I don't know, you feel like,
it's good because you're forced to talk about the code again.
Yeah, exactly.
How does this work?
Yeah.
Have we made the right decision?
Yeah. And so I think on the back, so what else? So Jeremy, have you got
So I mean, for me, it's all about how the team gels and communicates. And so when we started mobbing, I was quite new into the team. I'm relatively new in Headforwards, really. Just joined last year in June, and it's the first time I've ever mobbed. Wanted to pair program a bit, but never really got to mob. And it was a struggle. And the outcome of it all, outcome of the struggle was a really good, effective team. And for me, that's the big thing about mobbing. You just become a really effective team. That's all I can say is, I don't even call it mobbing anymore really, I just call it, we're just a team and we work well.
You don't tap on the shoulder and say fix that and then wander off and do your own stuff again. It's actually, why don't we fix it together as a team rather than you with your code.
Yeah.
So it's team ownership, isn't it? So I've got that on here on one of my notes. Team ownership. We've all mentioned that, isn't it? You all become, the code becomes all yours. You don't become that guy, that DB guy, that UI person. Everyone is everything in that domain that you're working in, and everyone knows it. Group learning. Now, it is brilliant because someone has the expertise there. You don't have to think, oh God, I'm going to have to read all this thing, go down a rabbit hole. No, that's the wrong way. You'll do that together. You'll find it together, and someone probably knows how to do it. If they don't, you learn together. And if they do, wonderful. They can impart all their knowledge onto you, and then at the end of the problem, you've got that knowledge there to impart on other people. And it's
amazing.
It is amazing. And I go back to pair programming. I was worried about doing it, and you'll find people are nervous. That imposter syndrome comes out, and you think, oh, I don't really want to do that. My point isn't going to be worth it. But once you get over that and you sit there, the comfort it gives you is really, I find, is really good, and the discussions become really good, and
The robust discussions.
and the code becomes simpler. It does what it's supposed to. It doesn't have all this faff around it. Like all these, like you're not going to need it again. I didn't really know what that. Well, I knew what it meant. I didn't practice it. I practice it now because if I didn't do that, went down that rabbit hole and tried to refactor. They laugh at me because I like to get on the refactor tractor all the time. But someone will pull me up on that. Why are we doing that? Or I'll make the case and say, no, we should refactor this. This is rubbish, and we come out with a democratic decision of what's best.
You don't need a perfect jewel of code. You just want something that does what it's been asked to
And
do without
not
all the extra engineering you go into when you're left to your own devices, if you're that way inclined.
Everyone's taken days over some things to try and figure out how to get something done as a mob, and 3 days of work, and look, they go, well, actually, that is not going to work. We're just going to bin it off. We take those 3 days of learning experience and let's do it the correct way. But if you do your own code, somebody comes up and says, oh, your 3 days of code you've done, they're rubbish, we're just going to chuck it away. You go, oh, as a team.
As a team, you've learned. No, there's no failures.
Like, I don't like this code, so I'm reviewing it. Why don't you rewrite it with 1 day left before it's going to be finished? It doesn't work, does it?
Yeah.
Sure,
So that's another. So I mentioned no code reviews, and on our backs we've got no code reviews. So what do I mean by that? Code reviews are good. I'm not saying don't do code reviews, but when you're mobbing, you are perpetually code reviewing. Someone is pulling you up or saying, you know, why are we doing it this way? Is this the right thing? Should we do it like that? No, let's do it this way. It is, I would say, 25 years, one of the most beneficial things I've learned, and I wouldn't want to code without being in a mob, I think, now. And TDD. TDD goes really well with it. TDD and mobbing are the two most important things I think I've learned. And yeah. So, when there's pros, oh, wrong way. When there's pros, there's cons. Right. When we first did it, first one, fatigue. It's bloody hard work. It's tiring. You come back, you've done a full day's work. You I don't know. I think you have to learn how to do it. It's really difficult at the start.
Because you're always doing it, you don't get a chance to drift off and say, I'm going to spend 5 hours with the net now. Do that and then, I'm done work this week. Because you can drift out of it and just tune out.
I think when we started,
and you're kind of still engaged, but not as heavily as you would be.
Yeah, I think when we started, we did that, didn't we? We were focused constantly. But as you grow as a team and get that interaction, that bonding going, people can sort of drift in and drift out. There's always the mob is always rolling. It's like
you can go and get a cup of coffee, but the code is still being written.
Yeah, to you and you'll pull the two rugby players here will pull me up on it. It's like a maul. Would that be? I think the maul's still going forward with the ball. Is that right? Ruck? Is it ruck? I know nothing about rugby, so I'll step away from that analogy. But no, everything is rolling on all the time, and so the fatigue was there to start with because we were always focused. Or personally, I was like, well, I've got to be focused. But now I'm relaxed in that team. I can look at fluffy kittens on the net or whatever, and then come back in and go, oh no, you're doing that wrong. Let's get back on the refactor tractor, guys, and they'll tell me to go.
Go get another cup of tea.
Yeah. Team dynamics can be a problem, but you know, people are different, aren't they? So when I used to code with my headphones on, listening to music, and now I miss that massively. I miss that, so I don't know all the freshed up plates anymore. So, but it sort of forces you out of the comfort zone. You've got to embrace your colleagues
Yeah,
and actually,
and,
so the team dynamics.
Ignoring them all day.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, do you have a nice evening last night? Right, headphones on.
You've got to accept their opinions. And
Yeah,
change yours
exactly.
Based on that as well.
Exactly, and you've got to accept people challenging your opinion as well,
Yeah.
and be able to be not proud, and it really teaches you how to work as a team. So, but team, it is difficult. It is difficult. I'm not going to lie. Barney, James, we are all argumentative buggers, and we can really argue our points really well. So we've had some quite frank discussions. I mean, I've thrown a hissy fit and, right, I'm leaving Headforwards, I'm out of here, where's my car, I'm going home, sort of thing. Barney's like, I'll come back. I'm like, no, you've offended me. But no, you sort it out, and normally no one's right at the end. In those arguments, no one really is right. Everyone's got a point of view, and you come to this democratic outcome at the end of it. And I think that's a good thing. Another con is, how do you sell this? We're a mob, right? We're not, we don't all work together, but we have done in the past. So how do we sell that 4 people are working on one problem? That's quite difficult to sell. I don't know the answer to this, because it's really difficult to convince upper management that they've got 4 devs that they're paying a lot of money for, and they're all going to sit there and do the same thing? Surely we want to split and get... No, I don't think that does. I think the benefit we find is we have less rework, we have all those positives that I've talked about, but it's a tough sell to the management. You've got to get their buy-in. Remote working can be a different... If you've got remote people, you can have connectivity issues, but we mob with 2 people remotely, and it does work. It isn't as good as people being in the room. It does work, but it's a challenge. So it is a con if you're all disparate locations.
One of the things we've seen is, so you'd say, here's a sprint and rinse through the code. Fair enough. Oh look, there's lots of critical bugs in live now, right? So you've actually deferred a lot of your work to when it's actually going to be live and working, fixing these bugs. But what we found is, because we invested more time and thought up front, that kind of time block from here has moved to this side, and then you do actually release something that has fewer critical issues when it goes live.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely decreased since we've started.
Our bug rework has definitely gone down. We were good, right? We didn't release with bugs, but we always had rework, so we'd finish a sprint, and we weren't, so I talked about this deployment thing, the way the client we work with won't allow us to continuously deploy into production, so we would still sort of stage our releases. So we would always have bugs that we'd worked on 3 weeks ago that we'd have to go back. They've all gone now, aren't they? We really now our bugs are, our tooltip isn't in the right place, or stupid thing. Yeah, just stupid things, or it doesn't, the look and feel isn't in the same as the other application. So we've got a drop down list, it's not working the same way as another drop down list. So it's stuff like that, which, don't get me wrong, there's still bugs. You want to produce a good, solid application that is liked by your users, fix those things. But they're really all we find, I would like to say. We haven't had any major things. And everyone knows the code. I've got flexi time as a down point. So I'm not sure it is, but we brought it up, and you feel, because if you're doing, like, say, 9 to 5 mobbing, but you wanted to do flexi time, I've got 1 minute, right? Sorry, 5 or 1? 1, okay. Flexi time could be a problem. I've got 5 up there.
You've got one.
Okay.
53 seconds.
Right. Anyway, I'll shut up now. So I'll shut up on the cons. So today, let's be the mob. Anyone want to join us? We're on the stage. We're doing a rolling mob. There's the URL. The application is going to generate during the day. Oh, sorry, generate. It's generated already. It's going to the application is going to evolve through the day. We need your help to do it. You can drive it as well. We don't really know what we want to do. So, if anyone's got any ideas? It's based on the speaker data from the website. We're going to do something. Come join us. See how mobbing works. Any questions? You've got about 20 seconds. Yes, sir.
Physical proximity.
Physical proximity, as in.
When you work together to do the mobbing,
Yeah.
how important is the physical?
Well, I think I mentioned that on right. It is better you're all together, but it does work if you can get your connectivity well. We use WebEx, not promoting that, but we use WebEx, so we'll have our headphones on and share, and you can swap the controller around. So I think it's better in a room together, but you can do it remotely, I think.
Yeah.
Does that answer?